Well, it's no Pirates of the Caribbean, but there is Metallica. Okay, I'm not really into Metallica, to be honest, but I just noticed in the opening credits, and then later on in the film, there's a scene, a pretty intense scene showing some flashbacky explanation sort of stuff. And in both of those scenes, you can hear Metallica's song, Nothing Else Matters. There's no lyrics to it, it's just the music. And I thought that was actually pretty awesome sounding, especially during the flashbacky scene that I mentioned. The only reason that I knew it was Metallica is because years and years ago, my brother, the artist, the big buff guy, he was in a bodybuilding competition, and the music that he chose for when he had to go out and do his posing and stuff and they would use music, he chose that song, Nothing Else Matters. I'd never heard it before, and I've listened to it multiple times since, and I actually really like it, but I'm not into Metallica. Maybe they make other music that's just as good as that, but I've never been drawn to them for whatever reason. Anyway, that stood out to me when it came to the Jungle Cruise, which I just got home from not long ago, watching Thursday night previews of the Jungle Cruise, and it feels like Disney's kind of trying to recapture the sort of magic of Pirates of the Caribbean in this new entry into their line of movies based on... I understand there were different ones. I just thought it was Pirates of the Caribbean, but apparently there were a couple of others that they made movies of that were based on games, or they're not games, what the heck? Rides. Sorry if I said games earlier, I was wrong. Rides. And so this one, I have mixed feelings about it because it was fun and it was okay. It didn't blow me away. And I saw some other reviewer say something like he was watching it expecting that he was supposed to, like, getting the feeling that he was supposed to have much more fun on this adventure that he went on with them on the big screen, basically. And I kind of felt that way too. Like, it's like it's got all the elements that it needs to have to make this really super fun film. And yet for some reason, it's like, I'm going to borrow a phrase that I heard from another reviewer. They refer to Pirates of the Caribbean as magic in a bottle. It's like that magic in a bottle is missing in this movie. That's a really good way to describe it. When I heard him say that, I was like, yes, that's exactly what it is. And it's not through any fault of the main actors. The three main actors did a really good job. Emily Blunt, I mean, she's Emily Blunt, and Dwayne Johnson, you know, he's good. The guy who plays her brother right there, the guy in the white suit, he was the comic relief. You know, okay, there's two things this reminded me of. It reminded me of Pirates because there are undead, cursed sailor people, conquistador people type in here, and similar to the theme of the Pirates of the Caribbean, but also the formula of the Mummy is repeated in here. And I kept thinking that as I was watching it, because she's like the Rachel Weisz character type. Dwayne Johnson is the scoundrel, explorer, adventurer, not explorer, but like adventurer type. And her brother is the effeminate, soft, weak, scared, comedic type. In other words, I mean, that was the exact formula in The Mummy, and that's the exact formula that was going on here. And there wasn't necessarily anything wrong with it because the characters interacted well together. The three main characters were fun to watch. That wasn't the issue, but it just felt like, oh, this is that same formula again. Okay. But the movie itself was a little bit more than 2 hours long, and in some ways, it felt like it went on too long, but then at the same time, towards the end, it felt like it was a little too rushed and compressed. So that was kind of an odd mixture to me. It starts off feeling very lighthearted and slapsticky, cartoony type, and I was thinking, oh, maybe this was like a PG movie. But then as it gets further on into the story, it gets a little bit darker and scarier. And they talk about certain things that definitely would go over a kid's head. I mean, there are certain things that are mentioned that's like, okay, adults would completely get it, but a kid. But then at the same time, like a young kid wouldn't get it. But at the same time, a young kid probably really shouldn't be watching this movie because there's imagery in here that might frighten the heck out of them. Kind of like Pirates. Was Pirates PG or PG-13? I think it was PG-13. Anyway, this is PG-13, so I believe that's an appropriate rating, to be honest. One thing I also did like about this, or another thing I liked about this, besides the interaction between the main characters, Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson were pretty good together. There were some moments, like towards the end, where certain interactions felt a little forced and too hasty and kind of pat. And yet at the same time, we've been with them for 2 hours in their interactions with each other. So it's not necessarily like it was a super huge surprise, but they spend a good deal of the movie bickering with each other because, you got to have that tension, right? That friction. And I guess the transition to the romance-ish part of it, that was obviously to be expected, and it was there, but in some ways it felt a little bit kind of rushed and smushed together because they went from bickering and sniping at each other, and then, she would like do this flippy thing, and then you could see that she liked him and she wanted to change her whole course of action because I don't want to give away too many spoilers. I'm just saying sometimes it felt a little, the shift between bickering people that were attracted to each other to people that were attracted to each other and openly wanted to admit it. Sometimes the shift felt a little jerky. I don't know how to explain it, you guys, honestly. But anyway, their interactions it was funny to watch them. And there are puns galore in this. One thing they set up towards the very beginning, and I thought about opening my review with this by just saying puns or something like that, but The Rock, it starts off sort of establishing that he likes to make a bunch of puns, and some of them are so bad and so cringy, it sort of becomes, well, not sort of, it becomes a running joke throughout the movie. So that was kind of funny, and the puns got a little better, and when they would happen, it was a little funnier, because initially it was like, okay, that's really weak, but it was supposed to be. I think that was the whole point of it. Anyway, something else, what I was getting around to earlier, something else I liked was that, so you know how in certain adventure, swashbuckling type films, the hero's trying to do something and it works out perfectly, and you're like, in real life, that would never happen, that sort of thing. But there were times where they were setting it up for that, and it didn't happen the way it was supposed to, which was funny. I like that they did that, because if it had gone perfectly every time they tried to do something, it would have been like, okay, all right, it's just this boring thing. But it was funny, and because it took this diversion that you weren't necessarily expecting, that sort of that gave it a little bit more weight. There were also other times, though, where it was carried off successfully, and you're thinking, all right, come on now, that's just a little bit unrealistic. But I say unrealistic, but we're talking about undead soldier guys with curses on them. So, I mean, how realistic can we get? But still, when you're watching a movie with stunts and action, you want there to be some level of realism, because it just feels like it grounds it a little bit more in reality, as much in reality as possible for a movie like this. I know, I sound really contradictory. But anyway, so I don't know. I guess it's going to do fairly well. I think the audience is going to like this more than the critics. The official critics have given it, like, I think, well, it started off at 70%. Now it's getting its way closer to 60%. I don't know that I would give it as low as 60%, but at the same time, I don't think I would go as high as what the current audience score is, which is about 85%. I don't think it was that good. I would probably give it more of a 70%. So I didn't hate it, but I wasn't blown away by it. I don't know that I'll rewatch it. I certainly wouldn't go watch it again on the theater. I wouldn't go watch it again at the theater on the big screen, but I also would never pay $30 to watch it on the small screen. If I watch it again, it'll be because maybe it's there's a digital sale and it's super cheap, or there's a super good DVD sale, because I personally, I don't think I'd pay more than $5 for this to add it to my collection, and I don't plan to add it to my collection, as opposed to the Pirates movies, which I have added all of those, I believe, except for, I think I only have the first 3 Pirates movies, because I feel like the first Pirates is the best. The second Pirates, up to the end, I felt like was the best, because to me it was the most comedic and it was so funny. Pirates had this way of being able to be slapsticky and at the same time make you feel like it felt more scary, or the bad guys felt more weighty. You felt that the characters could be in real danger, even though you knew it's a Disney movie, so they probably weren't going to be too much. But, you know, there were deaths that occurred, or there were deaths that occurred throughout the movie, so you knew it wasn't all slapsticky and lighthearted, but at the same time, it felt like it had a little bit more oomph to it as far as that went than Jungle Cruise did. So, I don't know. I expect that the audience score might come down a bit. I think younger kids will probably enjoy it a bit. Don't know how well it's going to hold up with adults, to be honest. And something else that gets to be a little old now, and this is something that's a common sort of theme throughout a lot of films, is, you know, the bad German dude who is in this movie because it takes place during World War I, and of course he's after some magical things to help him get power and help Germany in the war, and not, you know, that typical sort of thing. It feels to me, honestly, like that theme has been overused. It's been done over and over and over and again, and it's just getting a little old at this point. But I mean, it wasn't anything that made this movie horrible. I don't feel like the movie was horrible. I just don't feel like it was stellar. And certainly does not hold a candle really to Pirates of the Caribbean. But, you know, if you want to spend a couple hours of fun and watching some humorous interactions between main characters, because that honestly was the heart of the film, the interaction between Emily Blunt's character, Dwayne Johnson, and the guy who played her brother, their little trio group, and their interactions and dialogues and banter, and that was the best part of it. And so it might be worth it to watch it just for that. And I don't think I have anything else to add. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I can say about this. So I'm going to draw this to a close so I can edit it and get it up for tomorrow. It's not tomorrow yet. Get it up for Friday, because I have to get up and go watch The Green Knight tomorrow in the early afternoon, because I have been hearing some pretty positive buzz about that, and I am now interested to check it out. So that's what I'm going to do. So that means I can't stay up too late tonight, because I don't want to sleep in too late tomorrow. Okay, enough of that, you guys. I am going to go ahead and sign off for now. Adios.